You know, like she's like wigging out. She's like, honey, can you write on there too, Sandra, your dearest friend, and then give me your signature? I'm like, are you being serious or are you joking right now? And she made me write it on the paper, man.
Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, episode number 84. Mike Behrmann and the Living Room Buck. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level. Siri, play Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast.
Okay, Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Deer Hunting Podcast coming up.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Matt Duff.
And Jeff Danker.
We're Major League Bow Hunter, and you're listening to the best podcast on the internet, the Big Buck Registry.
Hi, this is Sean Lupkel with Heartland Bow Hunter.
Hey, this is Michael Huntucker with Heartland Bow Hunter.
And you're listening to my favorite podcast on iTunes, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
This is Josh Carney, son of the South. You're listening to my number one podcast on the internet, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Welcome to the show. This is Jay Scott, your host of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. Glad to be back. Glad to be talking to you right now. And I'm sure this other guy over here will be happy to talk to you as well. Dusty Phillips from Ohio. He's got a new Flexstone call. What's going on, Dusty?
Checking out the new Flexstone.
Scary good. That's scary good, man.
Checking it out. Just got it. Yeah, I've been wanting a new grunt call, so I got a Flexstone.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's the Flex It.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does sound pretty good. I like it. Man, it's grinding out, trying to get on a buck still here in Ohio. That's what I've been up to.
Yeah, it's your season is pretty much wrapped up, and
it's getting there. I still got a week left.
Gotcha. And just if you're listening to this was pre-recorded a little bit, so Dusty is hunted hard, and you got all the pictures. See, this is what I like, is that now all the pictures and videos that I see on Facebook, I know where that is.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That's the cool thing with you coming here, and I was able to show you where I hunt and check out my area and how I go about getting on whitetail here in Ohio.
Yeah, it was cool. And we talked about this kind of by text and by Facebook, but when I was at your house, it was minus 11 the day we were going to the ATA show. And then you said it was 47 degrees, and in a lot of the new pictures, I'm like, where'd all the snow go? That's a 58-degree swing.
It's crazy.
In 1 week.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, really. It's kind of disappointing in a way, because I was hoping that late season, this year would be really cold with some snow on the ground, and it's actually been super warm with nice conditions out.
Right. Except for the 1 to 2 weeks that we were kind of planning the trip, and the time I was there, that was probably the coldest span we'll see. And it looked like it was going to gear up for something good there for a while, but it's kind of petered out by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it definitely went for the worst here. It's gotten warm, and the deer have actually really slowed down as far as coming into my setup. I don't know. It's been a funky season all year, and I think that a lot of Ohio hunters have experienced the same, that they're having a little difficulty seeing deer, and actually getting on a nice buck has been something that's, some have and some haven't. Some pockets are really good, and, other pockets they're real scarce on deer. They up the limits. You're allowed to shoot 4 deer in Montgomery County, 3 deer in the county next to it, Preble, and it's kind of amazing that they think there's that many deer, but I've heard people say, yeah, you can get 4 tags, but does that mean you have to shoot 4?
Right.
So, I catch their drift there, but there's a lot of guys that shot 4 deer, and man, that's a big hit on the low deer numbers right now if you're shooting 4 deer in one little area.
Yeah, that was one of our topics of conversation we had a few times when I was down there, is that you think that the limit in Ohio is too high.
Yeah, different counties, obviously Montgomery, where I'm at, is one of the higher limit counties in the area. And I'm sure it's based on a car accidents, and that seems to be a huge focal point, that the the police are actually enforcing the right to tags out in the states, receiving the tags. And, I'm not real sure that was happening before. And I don't know no facts on that. And that's just my personal opinion. But, car accidents are up and they think that there's a lot of deer. And, man, I'm really not seeing the deer in the woods that everybody's talking about that the state's supposed to have.
Interesting.
That's in my areas,
Sure. Well, it raises some concerns. I mean, you've seen the woods year in, year out for how many years now?
Oh, yeah. Since, I'm 32 now, probably since I was 10 years old, I've been in there. And, at the time when I started hunting, it was slow. There wasn't a whole lot of deer. And then, in about the year of 2000, it really, man, we had deer around here. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, there was deer. And I think that they've really put the hurting on them as far as the limits and, more hunters going to the woods than ever. The harvest is down this year, but I don't think the deer are here to harvest. That's the reasoning.
Seems like it does cycle too sometimes, like every 10 years there's a new populace of deer. It kind of grows and falls, I think. And I'm just talking from general conversation I've had with buddies, and I don't know what the biologists say, but I've heard that before too.
Right, and I believe in thinning the herd for healthier herds. That's no question that needs to be done. But when you're used to seeing as many deer as I've seen over the past years, and then I get into this year and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, where did all the deer go? But, that's population control. And like I said, it's going to make for healthier herds in the future. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily just about the health, just the cycling of a herd, so to speak. They come and go, grow and shrink.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That kind of thing. Speaking of deer and where we went to the ATA show, and when I was flying back from your house, in Dayton, or flying back from Dayton after we dropped me off to New Hampshire, on my way to North Carolina, I ended up signing my first autograph. Did I tell you that?
Yes, you did tell me that. And that's I think that's first of many, actually.
It could be.
Yeah.
It was quite humbling, I have to admit, and I didn't know what the heck to write. And thanks to the Godfather, Mike Adams from Up North Journal, he gave me a few tips on what to write. And of course, it was well after the fact, but I'll be more prepared next time. So he said, just write your tagline. Sign it, write your tagline. And boy, I wish I had Mike sitting next to me right then. The Godfather of outdoor podcasting, Mike Adams. That would have been handy. But speaking of autographs, we're speaking with somebody today that also signed his first autograph because, quite honest, he's a little famous now. He wasn't then, but he is now, because there's been a picture that circulated all over Facebook and social media since about mid-December about this deer that was shot. It's called the living room buck.
You'll know the deer just by hearing that.
Yes. When I say living room buck, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you're on social media at all.
Absolutely. If you're following any kind of hunting pages or any kind of social media that has to relate to hunting, you've seen this buck, we'll guarantee it.
Yes. So we saw the buck too. Dusty got it texted to him. I saw it on social media on Facebook, and I said, I got to have this guy on the show. And he has lived up to every inch of that picture. He tells a story as good, if not better, than the picture itself. Mike Behrmann, and he shot the living room buck. So I don't know. What do you say, Dusty? Should we get Mike on air?
I think we're lined up for one incredible story that you do not want to miss.
You don't want to miss this one. The passion is real and hard, and it's a great story. So coming up next, Mike Behrmann. Mike Behrmann, welcome to the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you guys?
Dude, we're fascinated by this deer that you shot. And first, it's a giant buck. Where you're from, and what's going on right now?
I'm from Maineville, Ohio.
Okay. All right. And is that near you, Dusty? Do you know where Maineville is?
No, I don't recognize Maineville. What area of Ohio are you in? What county?
Cincinnati area.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're not, man. I'm just 40 minutes north of you.
Yeah, not far at all. We're right outside of Loveland. I don't know if you've heard of Loveland.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm about 18, 20 miles southwest of Dayton. So I'm kind of south towards Cincinnati, but not as far as you.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what do you do for a living?
I work for Time Warner Cable.
Gotcha. And what do you do for them?
and technician.
Technician. Very nice.
I go into the houses, fix the cable, and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. Now, I noticed, I couldn't help but notice that you've got a big Duck Dynasty-like beard.
Oh, yeah. Everybody says, is that the no shave November? No, that's just something I'm doing, man. And now that I got this deer, I definitely can't shave it because of the picture. If I shave it, nobody's going to know me.
I hear you on that one for sure.
Yeah.
That's
It'll
awesome.
make me look like I'm 20. It'll make me look like I'm 20 again.
Right. That's fantastic. So you've obviously you're an avid deer hunter. How'd you get started in deer hunting? Who's responsible for that?
My uncles. I got family in Kentucky, Corbin, and London, Somerset. That's where all my family's from, and I get down there every summer, and that's all we do. You know, we spend our time outdoors, and we spend our times, fishing. That's the way I've been raised, and handing it down to my boy now. So that's what I love to do, and that's what he loves to do.
Awesome. So you've been exposed to this your whole life, the outdoor aspect?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
That's awesome. So tell us about your cousins. You guys a little competitive, or is it just something you just enjoy?
No, not necessarily. No, we just, a bunch of family and us guys getting together and going out and doing our thing.
Gotcha.
It didn't matter if we came home with anything or, it's just good times, good memories.
Very cool. What's your earliest deer hunting memory with your family?
Oh, I have to say with my uncles, it was probably the first time we ever went out doing anything was they drive down the old dirt road, hunting for snakes.
Hunting
believe
for snakes.
It or not.
Nice. In Kentucky?
Yeah, we'd sit on the front of the hood of the car with our shotguns and they'd be taking out snakes left and right.
They don't get no better than that right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we did a bunch of rabbit hunting, did a bunch of deer. We did a little bit of everything, really, man, to be honest with you. There's not really any special moment, but
gotcha.
I mean, in my eyes, they're all special,
Oh, yeah. I mean, just hunting, period, doing no matter what it is a special moment. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Something we've learned over and over.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
So fast forward into hunting Ohio. Is this deer that you shot? Tell us a little bit about the setup. Is this an Ohio buck? Is it a Kentucky buck? What kind of?
It's an Ohio buck.
Okay, all right.
No high fences. It was all fair chase. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and take all the credit for the deer.
Okay.
The deer has apparently been seen by 4 different guys within a 15-mile radius of where I'm hunting at and where I harvest him at.
Gotcha.
I went in there December 2nd, and I was there at the right time at the right place, and great location, great spot.
Yeah.
Always activity.
Let's talk about the location a little bit. And I don't want GPS coordinates, but tell us about the topography, like the layout. What's going on in the area?
The front of the property's got it's a big cornfield.
Okay.
And it opens up into hardwoods. Kind of thickets on the left side, thickets on the right side, and that's where them big bucks come from, is the thickets. And then once you get into there, it's just it's all ravines, up and down, it's all big, huge ravines.
Huge ravines. So mountainous, but or just still kind of like rolling ravines.
Kind of like roll. I'd say more like rolling ravines, and a couple creeks run through them.
Yeah.
And you get down in them ravines next to the bedding area, and it's just it's a major travel corridor for them.
Gotcha. And how did you identify this area in the first place?
Believe it or not, my buddy at work, it was his property. He bought it years ago. Well, it's 20 acres. A bunch of land butts up from behind it. I'm not for sure exactly, how much, but there's a lot of land behind it. And he just bought it for 4-wheeling and going out there camping with friends and family.
No kidding. So it's just 20 acres. And and that's all it took. Dusty, would you relate this to basically the areas that that you showed me when we visited down in Indiana and Ohio?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Maybe a little more rolling hills than what we have here. It sounds like it's somewhat flat. Then it goes into a thicket. Is that got any hills into it and any valleys? Yep. So yeah, it's real similar, Jay, to what we actually checked out where my hunting spots are.
Gotcha. Okay. So, Mike, it's good to have buddies at work. No question about it.
I'm telling you, I've been hugging him ever since. Every time I see him, man.
You're the man.
I know. That's what he tells me every time.
You, man. That's awesome.
There's the man.
That's the guy right there. That's the guy.
So I'm assuming that the buddy at work's a non-hunter?
Yeah, he doesn't hunt, man.
No kidding. That's cool that he allows you. That's awesome.
It's fantastic. So set us up with the dates and stuff. When was it that you were turned on to this piece of property, and what led you to want to hunt there? I mean, your buddy has this land, but was there something that made you want to hunt there too? Like, was it a scouting effort, or was it just?
I'd say it was a little bit of both. It was a scouting effort, the location of where it's at. I've always heard of big bucks being taken there.
Okay.
I've always seen big bucks, just driving by, running through, the fields and in the fields, and not only that, it had no pressure. Nobody hunted it. Yeah, he went there and would ride quads and they camp out, but doing that all these years, then I feel that the deer they know what's going on. They're very smart animals.
Right.
And he gave me the permission, and I just went and scouted it. Hung some stands.
Yeah.
That would be last year. Last year would be my first year hunting it.
All right. So what time of year did you start scouting this place?
I'd say July, okay. August, so somewhere around there.
You and your buddy are talking around the water cooler, and he says, "Hey, I got this spot you might want to check out." Is that how it went down?
Yep.
Or?
I kind of just found out. I heard him talking about, riding quads out on his property.
Okay.
Work. I kind of pulled him off to the side and said, "Hey, you allow anybody to deer hunt?" And he's like, "Sure, I don't care. Come on out, check it out."
That's an interesting perspective, because it probably so simple it's overlooked. Sometimes it's just asking a buddy at work. Sometimes just simply asking, "Hey, would you mind if I hunt?"
Yep.
That's a good.
That's what I tell a lot of my friends. I've got a lot of farms and a lot of properties, and they always ask me, "How do you get all this property?" You got to ask, and it's also about how you come across to the people with talking to them. Just them seeing how you react as far as talking to them in person.
Right.
And what you're willing to do. I always offer to work on the farm or cut a tree down, do landscaping. To give back a little bit.
Right.
Even if it's, hey, if you know somebody in need of some food or meat, I'm willing to give you some meat from the deer too. It works out both ways, not just you giving me permission and I'm hunting your property.
Right. That's a crucial lesson right there. Yes,
it is.
Super important. All right. So is this kind of your MO? Is this how you go about it? Typically when you're trying to get permission, is that you're reading the person. You're trying to see how they react, watching you react, that kind of thing. And then you feed off of that. Like, how far can I get with this?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. That's a great hunting tip.
You'll know when the breaking point is of when, hey, don't ask no more, sir. It's a no.
Gotcha.
Change the subject and go on.
What are some indicators? Like, they get a little defensive?
You took the question right out of my mouth, Jay.
Yeah. You can tell a tone in their voice. You know what I mean? As soon as you hear that tone kind of change and real straightforward, and then I'm just kind of back off.
You back off. All right, you got your indicator. All right.
Yep.
All right. So you started scouting this property in July. How long after you got permission to hunt did you start scouting?
Oh, as soon as I that August or July.
Oh wow.
Before last season started.
Okay. So this was August.
Gave me permission. Yep.
July 2014.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, so what did you find? What were some things that you started that intrigued you once you got into
just like I said, I like hunting close to thickets.
Okay.
I don't like hunting too close, because that's where they come out of, that's where they bed. You can't get into it, but that they're in there. The trails coming out of those thickets that feed into that bottom, heading down towards that creek. It looks like a dirt bike trail.
Right.
And you see something like that, they're coming through there.
Okay.
You don't know when, but they're coming through.
Right. And how far off of those trails do you tend to hunt? I mean, obviously you saw the trail, you knew that they were moving through there a lot.
30 yards. 30, 40 yards roughly.
Okay, gotcha. So you got 20 acres. You've identified a travel corridor, and you start setting up some stands. How many stands are we talking about?
I got 2 stands. 2 stands back to back. Me and a partner of mine, we always do filming.
Okay.
I film him, he'll film me.
Gotcha. So you only set up 1 stand setup, 2 stands, 1 tree kind of thing?
Yep.
Fascinating. It was based off of this thicket and the location of this travel corridor that you identified on this 20-acre parcel.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right. Walk us through some of the things that you went through besides just identifying this. Was there, tell us about your general hunting setup. I'll have Dusty kind of walk you through that, but I want to kind of know what you bring in the woods, what kind of gear you're carrying, what kind of special rituals you go through, so to speak, on a day you hunt.
During bow season, I shoot a PFC. Axe 6. I always bring in my antlers, regardless of, what time of the year it is. I always take antlers. I got two real nice sheds that come off of 2 different deer. I always bring my sheds in. I always got the good old Primos grunt call and Primos bleed can, Other than that, man, I mean, that's really, as long as I got those necessities, it always works out for me.
Do you use any kind of scent control?
That I do. I like putting out Pink 69, during the rut, during November. I use a lot of that. And I use the Bone Collector scent spray, scent away spray.
Gotcha. What kind of camouflage are you wearing?
All my camo is Under Armour. I'm a very high believer in the Under Armour camo.
Any particular camo pattern?
The new Breakup.
Mossy Oak Breakup Infinity?
Yep.
Gotcha. You say you're shooting a PSE bow. What PSE are you actually shooting?
It's the Axe 6.
The Axe 6, okay. And you're pushing that, I'm assuming, through a carbon fiber arrow?
Yep.
Any particular arrow brand?
Not necessarily. I'm a fan of the Blazers.
Okay. What broadhead are you pushing with the arrow?
I am shooting Rage.
Rage in the Cage. Is that the
Rage? I will tell you. I'm also shooting. I just recently picked up the Grim Reapers.
Gotcha.
And let me tell you, the Grim Reapers, they're bad to the bone.
No kidding. Is that a hypodermic or what kind of Rage are you shooting?
What kind of range am I shooting?
A Rage broadhead. What kind of broadhead?
Oh, let me look here.
We like it when you got gear right beside you.
I'm trying to.
That's a good sign right there.
Absolutely.
Let me look here.
Yeah, it's wondering if you're shooting. I'm assuming it's mechanical, correct?
It's mechanical, and I always shoot 100 grain too.
Gotcha. Yeah, we like to know. We like to get down to the nitty gritty and find out exactly what you shot when you harvested this mega giant of a buck.
Well. No, let's hold. If you want that, I didn't shoot it with a bow.
Oh, okay. No kidding. All right. Yeah. Well, that's fine. Let's keep walking through our bow setup.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't shoot it with the bow. Let's get that straight right now. I mean, more than I would have loved to, and I'm not taking nothing from the deer because I shot it with the gun.
Yeah, not a problem.
I took him with my 870.
Gotcha.
I can't find my pack. I can't find the pack.
Oh, no biggie. So we know you're shooting a Rage mechanical, and I was just curious of what type or what Rage that you were shooting. No big deal at all. If you find it, speak up, and we'll hit on it for a quick second. So you're shooting a PSC with carbon fiber arrows, pushing a Rage broadhead when you're bow hunting. Tell us a little bit about your setup. What kind of tree stands are you? Are you guys in hang-ons, or are you in ladder stands? Tell us a little bit about that.
I got 2 hang-ons.
Any particular brand?
To be quite honest with you, this may sound funny to you guys. I can go to Dick's Sporting Goods right now and pick up the stands that they have that are like $29.99.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can sit in them all day long. It's a pain sometimes, but that's I can't think of the name of them, but it's the cheapest stands that you can buy from Dick's.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, hunting economical.
I used to go out and buy the 100-something, the real fancy dancy ones where you can sit down there and just be relaxed all day.
Yeah.
But it seems like every time I do that, they get stolen.
Yeah, we understand that. That's a tough. Let's touch base on that a little bit. What, in a clean opinion, what's your opinion on somebody stealing your stuff?
I wish it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, that's something that we really never touched bases on. I want to hear it from. I've been fortunate. I've never had my stand stolen. It's going to happen tomorrow probably, but I've never been in a situation. I know there's a lot of listeners that may not have ever had anything stolen. So let's hear a little bit about that. Let's touch into that a little bit. Something that kind of strikes my interest because it's never happened to me, and I pray that it don't. It's bad for everybody that has stuff stolen. That that's not ethical hunting in my eyes.
No, especially when you hang a stand, you've been scouting it for 2 months, 3 months before season, or even 6 months before season. You put all that time and effort into it, and then you wait until, like for me, I got a couple spots to where I'll go set stands and at the first, as soon as spring hits, I'll go out there and scout it, check it out, hang my stand, get my spot ready, go in there 2 months before season, trim my shooting lanes, and I won't go back in there till November. That's my vacation. I'm off the whole month of November, and then I hunt that Pacific stand in November because it's not pressured.
Right,
you go to that
absolutely.
stand and it's not there, I just don't see how guys do it. I've been to so many properties. I've walked past properties that are combined mine, and I see stands all the time. I wouldn't do it. I don't know why people, they just feel the need to do it, and it is very upsetting. You put all that time and energy into something, and then it's like it's taken away from you.
Yeah, in my eyes, it would just disgust me that somebody would have the nerve to come on the piece of land that I'm hunting and mess with my setup. That would just disgust me.
That's like I was telling you guys, a little while ago about, the sixth buck I shot in the last 5 years. I come back an hour and a half after hearing a deer crash, and not only did I not find my buck, somebody watched me shoot my buck. I come back, they stole my stand, and they stole my buck.
That's unbelievable.
I was furious. I was ready to give up, to be totally honest with you. I was ready to pack my stuff up, put it up, and the only thing that really kept me going was my son. And that was the deer that you seen from the picture earlier. That was the deer that I hunted with him last year, and we got on him, and he did it. And after he did that last year, my hopes and all my expectations with how I've been with hunting all my life, it was like it was a light switch and it flipped back on. And he's been the one that's been keeping me going since last year.
Okay, and how old's your son?
He's 10.
10 years old, and what I seen the picture of, I'm guessing, I'm just throwing a guess out there. That's a 155, 165 inch deer.
Easy. The deer is I haven't actually had it scored yet. He is a deer of a lifetime. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. That's a mega giant for a 10-year-old. That's a fact.
The smallest measurement of his deer's neck was 28 and a half inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
And standards somewhere around 17 to 20.
Exactly.
Wow, yep. That's a big mature buck right there.
Yes, it is.
Wow, that's crazy. Awesome. Congrats to your son. And let's touch into that just real quickly. How did that hunt go down?
Like I said, I hunt throughout the season, don't get me wrong, when I get time.
Right.
But my dates I take off for vacation is November 1st through probably the 26th, 27th of November. And if I'm off all those days, the days that he's off and not at school, me and him will go in a ground blind, pack a lunch, bring a cooler of drinks. He'll bring his coloring book, whatever he needs to do to keep him kind of occupied, and we will sit in there from daylight till dark.
No kidding.
We will not leave the ground blind.
That's awesome. That's a lot for a 10-year-old boy to do.
And he loves it. And I'm telling you, I couldn't be more grateful of him in being into it as much as he is, because he gets more excited than I do,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at 10 years old and shooting a buck of that caliber, he should be amped up to go every season.
Yeah, and I think it helps too, because when we go, I don't take my bow. It's not about me.
Right.
It's like I'm not even there. I'm sitting in the corner.
I think that's something that's often overlooked, that whenever you take a youth out like that, is that the parent or the older guardian that's going hunting with them should let them do the hunting, regardless of how big or small the animal is that walks in front of you. It
does not matter. Yep.
Yeah, right. It should be up to that youth to make the shot and take that game, and show them the correct ways to do things.
Yep. I've had a handful of buddies that have flat out said, "Man, you didn't take your bow. Why'd you let him shoot that?" It's like, dude, it's not about me. And that's what a lot of guys' problem is that they don't get their kids and the youth into hunting right now. 20 years from now, there is going to be no hunting.
Yeah, the youth are our future as far as the hunting industry goes. That's a fact right there. And if you don't take the time and let them do the hunting versus taking your bow and shooting a buck out from underneath your son, that's something that just discourages them to go back with you.
Yep. And to be honest with you, after my son shot his deer last year, it opened up a lot of my buddies' eyes, and they're starting to take their kids out. Even if their kids can't be good enough or quiet enough or they're too loud, it may just be for an hour. I'm like, hey, it's a start. If you don't start it now and you wait until they're 10 and want to take them, they're not going to want to do it. And I'm not telling everybody that, hey, this is what your kid needs to do. Everybody's different. But if you're a deer hunter and your kid sees you come home with all your whether it's deer, whether it's squirrel, rabbit, take them out one time. I mean, that was the best feeling, watching him take down that deer.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Oh, man.
I mean,
I'd say it's more rewarding than taking down your own buck.
Yeah, it is. I told my buddy since last year I could pack my bow and all my guns away, keep my hunting close, and if I could take him out every year and put him on a deer, it don't even matter if it's that big.
Right.
To where he's enjoying himself and he gets into it, I'd do it every day of the week.
Absolutely.
I'd even be willing to take kids, his little buddies and friends I've offered to take,
Now, that's what it's all about. That we're getting away from this, and that's where we don't want to be. we need to bring back the family tradition of hunting.
Yes,
you're exactly right.
And you know, there's so much money involved, and it's getting harder to find a place to hunt. But you know, I will say, if you want to hunt a decent spot and you can't get permission, if you lease it, I give you all the respect in the world. But in that lease, you need to include the youth. You need to let them use it. Let them go out and harvest their first deer, or try to get a deer, even if they don't harvest anything. The experience is what it's all about. Getting the youth outdoors, you know.
Just like we talked earlier, you guys asked me what was my most memorable, you know, family hunting, you know, going out with the family when I was a kid. It doesn't matter to me. All of them were, you know, in my eyes, was wonderful.
Right, yeah, and your boy's only going to have one season that he's 10 years old. Your boy's only going to have one season that he's 11 years old. He's only going to have one season. Every year there's only one season. He's going to keep advancing in age. You don't get a repeat of that season. You don't get to go back and replay it. If you take them out there, they'll remember that. They don't remember their best days of television. They remember their best day in the woods, though. I'll guarantee you that.
That's it. Exactly right.
That's very true. I remember every hunt I ever went on with my dad. I couldn't tell you what I watched on TV when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's amazing, ain't it?
Couldn't you know, maybe the name of the show, but I couldn't tell you what happened now.
It's amazing how much that the outdoors actually will stick with a young individual. And, you know, I'm fortunate enough to be raised in a family, and Mike, it sounds like you have too, and Jay has too, and everybody listening has somewhat been involved with either a family member, and some hasn't, and that's okay. But, you know, learn yourself and pass the tradition on. That's what Hunters for Hunters. Let's take care of the youth and give them a week or two that you can dedicate to take them out. If you have time and you're willing, take them out all season.
Yep.
You know, get them in the outdoors.
100%. Even,
awesome.
You know, even friends or family, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, I've always been one to where, I don't get me wrong. Who doesn't want to go out and knock down a big gnarly buck? That's everybody's dream, you know. But if you, I guess in other words, what I'm trying to say is, I've had over a dozen friends that, hey man, I'd love to hunt, but I ain't got nowhere to hunt. Well, dude, call me. Here's my number. Call me up. Are you serious? I'm like, I'm not like this person or that person, and I'm not only rack hunting. Even if me and you go out and sit for an 8-hour day and only see one doe, you know, if that's your first deer, harvest that doe. If that's what you want to, you know, my one partner I got into, he started hunting, you know, he's wanting this big gnarly buck, and I'm like, man, I know I shot the deer that I did. That doesn't happen every day.
Right.
You have to put time into it.
Oh know? Man, yeah.
Your first deer, I know, you know, when that first buck walks in, you're gonna be like, oh man, this is my first deer. I want to shoot it, but I don't want this guy to laugh at. Nobody's gonna laugh at you. I tell him, it's your first deer, and you'll never forget that moment. I don't care who you are, you'll never forget that moment.
You'll take that moment to the grave with you.
I've always been the guy that takes everybody to my hunting spots. Of course, I make sure they're scent free and sprayed down, and you know the wind's right. Sit here, here's where they're going to come from. I try to walk them through everything, but I'm always one that I don't care who it is. I take them with me.
Yeah, you got some criteria they have to live by when they're with you.
Exactly.
But you'll take them. Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah,
that's it.
That's part of the.
You want to go? You want to get on deer? I'm more than happy to take you, but you have to listen to me. You can't just go out there, tromp through the woods, and you know, you got to pay attention to what we're doing here.
Right.
You're very smart.
And that you know, that brings up a great point, that you've got to be willing to put in the effort to actually train them to go whitetail hunt. You know, everybody says, oh, you just grab a gun and go to the woods. Well, it's not just that easy. Yeah,
and that's why. Yep, and that's why I'm wanting people to know more of my story about the past few years. I don't want people to look at me like I'm some guy that went out and shot this big 25-something, 200-something inch gnarly buck with a shotgun. When, don't get me wrong, I took Monday and Tuesday off, which was December 1st and 2nd for gun season, and I'm a hardcore bow hunter. I mean, there's days and weeks I sit the stand from daylight till dark, and I kid you not, you know.
And then that's not something.
Hey, gun, bow, it doesn't make a difference what you're using. You know, I've put a lot of time in.
Right, and that's what it takes, you know. Some have beginner's luck, and everybody's well aware of that. You can go out there, and it may happen to one of our listeners that never actually shot a big buck, but you can go out there and have beginner's luck and shoot a monster the second time you sit in the seat of a tree stand. But likelihood of that, not very likely, but it does happen. The ruts.
My partner that was with me that day, this is his second year hunting, never shot the buck. He was 2 ridges, maybe 3 ridges over from where I was at, you know, and everybody asked me, well, what if that deer would have made a V line and to the left and headed towards him? I'm not going to chase it down because I got a shotgun in my hand. If that's what that deer's choosing to do and I can't get him to come close enough for a clean shot, then then more power to him. I'd love to see him harvest that deer.
Right, absolutely, It's just it's amazing that the time and the effort and the reward by helping out all comes around in hunting. It seems like you help somebody out, and it seems to pay off in the long run.
It pays off, and I guess the moral to the story, once we're completely done here, is never give up.
Right.
Yeah, grind it out.
That's all you can do.
Yep, you just got to grind it out. I'm doing it right now. I'm still.
And believe it or not, a lot of people are like, "Man, how are you still hunting?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got doe tags to fill." My son, I bought him 2 tags at the beginning of the season, an either sex and then the other, regular $15 urban tag. He filled those both tags. He filled those the second day of opening weekend.
Nice.
Wow!
So I went out and bought him a third tag, which is his either sex for his buck. And hey, I'm on the grind right now with him. Whenever he's off school on Sundays, or when I pick him up Thursdays and Fridays when I get home from work, or when he gets off at school, I pick him up. We go straight to the woods.
Awesome.
So,
that's what it's all about.
I'm still putting time in. I know people are probably thinking, "Oh yeah, he's done for the year." No, believe me, I'm still trying to hustle, trying to help my boy out here.
Still going. That's awesome.
That's it, man.
Mike, let's take some time, walk through the play-by-play of the hunt, slowly, kind of step by step. And set it up for us. Like, what time of year are we talking about? What day did this all go down?
It was December 2nd, 2014.
Okay.
On a Monday.
Gotcha. Tell us about.
Sorry, Tuesday. It was a Tuesday.
All right. Was it an all day kind of hunt that you were preparing for, or was it something after work?
It was supposed to be an all day hunt, but I got pretty discouraged Monday after jumping that big 10 up that me and my boy jumped up the first time.
All right, let's go back to that story first. Let's go back to that Monday and tell us about all that. How did that go down?
With me and my boy?
Yeah, exactly.
It was Sunday, the last day of youth gun season. I took him out for an evening hunt.
Okay.
As we was walking through, a big monster, gnarly 10. I should have thought about it before walking the direction I walked, but I didn't. Bedded down right in the thicket, probably 20 yards from us. Jumped up, took off, and blew and ran the other direction. We still hunted that night. We went ahead and sat down, didn't see nothing, of course. But
when we say we sat down, were you sitting in tree stands? You sitting on the ground blind? How are you hunting?
We was actually on the ground, in the ground blind.
Okay.
We was actually in the ground blind that day.
Okay.
Hunted Monday of opening day of gun season. Myself jumped up the same deer on the same spot, but on the left side of the four-wheeler trail.
Really?
Took a shot, clean miss. I was heartbroken. I was so heartbroken.
Were you on your way back in during the?
I was on my way back in.
Okay. Was it for a morning type situation, or?
It was an afternoon.
All right. So you're going in for an afternoon hunt, and you're about what time of day were you talking about?
This is probably 1 o'clock.
About 1 o'clock.
1:30, 1 o'clock.
And you're just on your way to your tree stand, or on the way to the blind?
On my way to the tree stand.
Tree stand, and this buck is hanging out in the same spot it was the day before.
Yep.
Where you jumped in before. Isn't it funny how
it was the week before.
Week before. So okay.
I don't think a week or two before, because it was youth gun season, then a week or two came through, and then it was gun season for statewide Ohio.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is a week separation, and this buck is back in the same bed that he was the week before.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's interesting. That's very interesting. All right, so you just ran meandering on your way to the stand, not really hunting, just kind of on the way.
Yep.
And what happened? Did you take a step and he jumped up?
Deer, jumped up, looked at me. As soon as I went to raise my gun up, gone.
Gotcha.
He was gone.
The senses, and you weren't really expecting him to be there at that point. It's my guess.
I was hoping it was going to happen again, because this time it was the gun was in my hand and I could see a lot more than what my boy can see because I'm a lot taller.
Yeah.
So I was kind of hoping, like, hey, maybe this might happen again. Let's see if we can get lucky. Let's walk these back in nice and quiet. I'd walk 3 or 4 steps. I'll stop and I'll count to 30. Takes me a little longer to get to my spot, but if you pay attention to how deer walk in on you, is they don't just walk in a straight line. They always stop and listen and look. So that's one good thing that I always do when I walk in, is I take my time.
Take your time, stop, look around, walk a few more steps, look around. Is that your pattern?
Yep. That is my pattern.
All right, that's a good pattern. I like that. All right, so this is on a Monday. You jump this big deer, and then what happens?
I take the shot. Buddy called me. He heard me shoot. He's like, "Did you already get one?" I said, "Man, I want to say yes, but I want to say I don't really know. But if I did, This deer is a big deer. It's the same 10-pointer me and my boy jumped up. He come over. We looked for hours. Ruined the whole evening hunt, you know. I wanted to make sure this was either going to be a hit or a clean miss. And it was a clean miss.
Gotcha.
No signs whatsoever.
You looked everywhere. You boogered up the woods. And that was the hunt for that rest of the evening. Got it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's continue.
Tuesday, which would be December 2nd, I decided that I'm not hunting in the morning. It's raining, nasty. I'm just going to sleep in and see what the evening brings. Woke up about 9 in the morning, ate some breakfast, called my buddy. I said, hey, let's hunt tonight. Cool, well, let's go check out this other property. I'm like, nah. I'm like, dude, if that 10-pointer's been in there 2 different times in the past 2 or 3 weeks, that's his home. So hopefully if I didn't scare him out of there, let's see if things can go right this time. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to walk in a different direction and see if I can't get on this deer without spooking him out there the third time. And he was down for it. And probably 12:30, 1-ish again, we got back in at the same time, but I walked in the opposite direction. Because of where he came, where we jumped the 10-pointer up at, it was kind of a thick area. So I said, hey, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to drop you off at your spot, I'm going to go to my spot.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think this plan's going to work out. I forgot my harness.
Of course you did.
We got all the way there. I forgot my harness, man. And I just had a buddy fall out of the tree 25 feet probably 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And after seeing him in the hospital, he's doing good now, thankfully. He's at home with his family. But after seeing that, I told my buddy, I said, dude, I'm not climbing my tree. I don't have my harness.
Yep.
He's like, what are you going to do? I said, dude, I got my tripod chair. I'll just run back, grab it, and I'm just going to post up 50 yards from where my stand is on top of this ridge that overlooks 4 or 5 different ridges. I mean, the deer funnel down into that bottom always. I'm just going to post up behind this big oak tree, and I'm just going to sit tight.
Gotcha.
I'll spray down, take my time, and that's what I did, man.
So you ended up going back to the truck?
Yep. Get my chair.
Yep.
Get my chair. We started heading back into the woods. I went the direction that I was going to take him to his spot instead of walking the normal direction I walked. Did the little, walk 2 or 3, 5 steps, stop, count to 30. It seemed like it took me 2 hours to get to my spot, but it really wasn't that long.
How much ground are you covering in this amount of time?
You talking about from the truck to from where you hit the woods to where I'm hunting at?
How far from the truck to the woods, and then how far once you hit the wood line to your actual sitting location?
From the truck to the wood lines, probably 100 yards. Okay. 100 yards maybe, a little over 100 yards. And then from the wood line to my location is probably a good 200 yards.
Okay. And it's 200 yards all in the woods.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. And you're walking away from the direction that you would have walked the last 2 times before?
Yes.
Okay, exact opposite directions where you would normally have gone in.
Yep.
And what was your strategy at that point? You're trying to avoid that area and hope to get a shot at something moving through instead?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because the last 2 times we walked that spot is the last 2 times we jumped up that 10-pointer back to back.
So basically trying to stay out of its bedding area, get it through when it's going through its travel corridor instead. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So 200 yards into the woods, taking 5 or 6 steps every 30, counting to 30, looking around, more steps. So how long? So it's what, 1 o'clock or so in the afternoon?
It's about 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, December 2nd, 2014, and you're slowly and methodically moving to this one spot that overlooks several ridges down into a creek bottom that deer hang out.
Yep.
How long did it take you to get to your spot once you got into the woods?
I'd say about 15 minutes.
Okay, gotcha. All right, now walk us through the rest of the afternoon.
So, like I said earlier, I always bring my antlers. I always bring my grunt call. I always bring my Primo's bleed can, always. Sit down about it's a little after 1 o'clock, 1:15, somewhere around in that scenario, 1:20,
sure.
Whatever. Grunted a couple times, hit my bleed can a couple times, waited 20, 30 minutes, took my antlers, and, being December 2nd, I wasn't going to sit there and slam them like it was like crazy, but I kind of just tinkered with them just to make some noise in the woods,
Little tickling.
That's it.
Okay, got it.
And then I'd then the next time I'd rattle them, 5-10 minutes later, I'd make it a little harder, where it's a little bit louder.
Mm-hmm.
I'd stop, hit the grunt call a couple times. I waited. 20 minutes later, looking over the next ridge where that 10-pointer we jumped up 2 different times. Here comes the big boy up and over the hill.
He was there the whole time.
120 yards.
Wow.
From where I'm sitting.
Yeah, what was the weather like about this time? Was it cold?
It wasn't necessarily, freezing cold. I'd say high 30s that day. The fog kind of started to set in because of the rain earlier that morning.
Okay.
So it was a cool background looking at the other ridge and seeing him stand on top of that ridge looking around with the fog floating around,
Gotcha. All right. So he's 150 yards?
I'd say 120 to 150 yards.
All right.
Yeah.
And there's no mistake in this deer. It's the same buck you jumped twice.
No. This is the deer that I took.
This is a different deer altogether. Okay.
This is the 25 pointer.
Okay. But this deer still came from the same direction that you jumped the other one?
Same direction.
Wow.
If I would have walked the direction that I walked the first 2 times, I would have pushed that big buck out of there.
That's crazy.
I would have pushed him out of there. I promise you. I would have pushed that deer come out of that same spot. I'm like, thank you, Lord. I'm so glad I thought this through and decided to take this other route, because I'm telling you, I would have pushed him out of there.
Yeah. All right. So you spot this buck on 120 yards away on a ridge coming from the direction where you jumped the other 2. What happens next?
I'm freaked out. I'm just like, oh, please do not mess this up, Mike.
Come
After
on,
the year,
Mike. We're pulling
past couple
for
of
you.
years I've had, please don't mess this up. I got this. Just calm down. I rose my gun up, man. Put the sights right on it. I'm like, man, I can take this shot. I know I can take this shot. I'm like, Mike, don't take the shot. That's a little too far. Let's just let him come in.
Yeah.
I started shaking. I'm like, man, I'm starting to shake. I got to put this guy down. So as soon as he looks, he's standing on the other ridge, and he can see everything from where he's standing.
Yeah.
I mean, any slight movement, he can see anything running through there, or everything. As soon as he looked to the right, which is the opposite direction from where I was at, I set my gun down. Just a couple deep breaths. It felt like he stood there for an hour, man. I told myself, I'm like, he heard me rattling, he heard me grunting, he had to have heard my bleed can. I got to do something to get this deer's attention to where he's going to come this way. I looked down on the ground, there's my bleed can. I've had so much luck with that Primos bleed can. It is unreal, man.
Really?
I picked that bleed can up. Now, this is December 2nd. I hit my bleed can. I turned that can over one time.
All right, so you're using the hand method. You're holding the button on the bottom. You turn it over. Not doing the mouth call with it or anything like that. This is just the regular old hand. Turn it over. Let it go.
That's it. Yep.
How many times? Once?
I did it one time.
Okay.
And as soon as I did that deer looked over my direction. Nose to the ground. Here he comes. Comes straight down the ravine. Stopped him at 75 yards. Put it right behind raised that gun up. Put it right behind his shoulder. He was done. He did a knee dive down the hill to the creek, ran up the creek probably 150 yards, and he was done. Called my buddy up, told him, I said, dude, I shot a giant. He's like, I know, dude, I heard you shoot. How big is he? I'm like, dude, he's big. That's all I can tell you, he's big, and he is down.
Now, when you were shooting, was it open sights or a scope?
Open sights.
Open sights, and it's a shotgun.
It was 8870 Remington Express.
Gotcha. All right. And you knew he was down, and you were talking to your buddy by cell phone at this point?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I started, as I'm talking to him, I'm actually talking to another buddy. I called up another buddy because I was so ecstatic. I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this. And as I'm talking to my other buddy, I'm heading over to my other buddy that's hunting, and he met me halfway. He's like, dude, did you get him? I'm like, dude, he's down. He fell down. He's done. That's it. He's done. And by the time we got back over to my spot, I said, dude, he's still right there, but I don't see him. He's like, dude, I see him. I'm like, dude, I can't see him. He's like, dude, he's still alive. I said, what do you mean he's still alive, dude? I busted him right behind the shoulder, dude. It couldn't have been any better. And I got to looking. I only hit one lung. I guess the angle that it went in, it only took or sideswiped one of his lungs. I mean, it put a hurting on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, dude, I got to take this deer down. I got to take another shot, dude.
Yeah.
Got a little closer. I didn't want to get too close to the deer. You know what I mean? I didn't want him to run off. I didn't want to take that chance of scaring him and then losing him. Right. I knew he was hurt, but I had to take him down.
How far?
I'd say 100 yards.
Okay.
About 100 yards. And put it right behind the shoulder, and as soon as I took that second shot, man, he was done. His head went up, his legs went straight out, and he was down for the count.
Oh, that's intense.
That is intense.
Oh, yeah, dude, it was very, let me tell you, it was very nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm nervous, and I already know what happened.
I couldn't believe it. And then to top it all off, you know, once we finally get over to him, he's like, dude, he's definitely down. I'm like, dude, I understand that. I'm running to this deer. He's like, dude, slow down. He's down. I'm like, dude, I've been waiting. You know, yeah, I got my hands on my boy's deer with him last year, which was great. I'm so thankful for that. But I said, dude, I've been waiting long and hard for the last 5 years to put my hands on my deer because I've been through so much. I am running to this deer right now. And nobody is stopping me.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So you run over. Did you know what caliber of buck this was when you shot?
I knew he was wide, tall, and he had points everywhere.
Gotcha. So the reality set in when you ran up to him.
And he had that real dark kind of, white, solid white in a few spots, but real dark chocolate looking rack, man.
Those are the best. I love the chocolates.
He had
So what happened? You went up to this buck, and was your buddy trailing right behind you? Did you get up to him? What'd you do?
He was kind of trailing behind me, but he was losing my tracks. Put it that way. But, from where he was at, he could see everything that was going on, and it was just, it was right there. I mean, it's, I get up to the deer, and I was out of words, man, like I am right now almost.
Yeah.
Started counting the points, and the higher I got on them points, the more tears I started dropping. And I'll be the first to admit, and I'm not ashamed to tell you that I broke down and I cried when I got my hands on my deer.
How many points?
So much time. He had 28 points, but only 25 of them are actually going to be scored.
Yeah. How many times did you count the points?
Probably about three or four different times. Yeah, over and over.
Over and over. Yep. Wow.
And he's like, dude, I gotta count this. Get out of the way. I gotta look at this. And he's looking, and he's like, dude, you gotta welcome a lifetime here, dude.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So he gets on Facebook.
Yeah.
Hurrying, he posts a picture. He automatically gets a hit from a guy saying, I bet I know where you killed it. And I'm like, okay, what was that about? So he starts writing this guy. This guy apparently has been watching this deer for 2.5, almost 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And then after that guy messaged him, another guy messaged him. And then that guy's brother had been watching him. And then a week later, I got another anonymous phone call from a buddy saying that, hey, I'm going to send you some pictures, and you tell me if this is your deer.
Wow.
I looked at him. I said, yeah, that's my deer. He said, dude, my buddy, I just now put 2 and 2 together, sent me pictures of this deer. And I think it was October or November of 2014 of this deer being in his food plot, eating his food plot. So This deer has been seen in a 15-mile radius around my hunting spot. And nobody has been able – I take that back. The 2 guys are brothers. The one guy last year said he shot at him at 40 yards and missed. Climbed out of his tree stand one night, heard a splash in the creek, turned around. That deer standing probably 10, 15 feet from him, staring at him, blew and ran off.
Yeah.
His brother shot at him 18 yards and missed. And then as I got the deer, finally quartered up and my buddy got to looking, there was a mechanical broadhead blade stuck in his shoulder blade.
No kidding.
Jeez.
So somebody has shot him. I don't know when. I don't know where. I don't know what time of the year. But somebody had shot him, and you couldn't tell by looking at his outer layer of his fur that there was any markings or anything. But they hit him right in the shoulder, and a piece of that blade had broke off in the shoulder when he, I guess, pulled the arrow out or broke the arrow off.
Right.
And you can see where the front shoulder had been healed over from the injury.
So it hit the bone and didn't penetrate.
Did not penetrate.
Gotcha.
Nope.
Wow, that's insane. So
it's very, very insane.
So this buck had traveled a 15-mile radius. From what the pictures are telling you, this is what we classify as that dominant floater that just goes and goes and goes.
Yep.
That's amazing.
That's it, man.
That's amazing. So what did you do after that? After you started getting some hits on Facebook, how'd you get the deer out of the woods?
It had to be a four-wheeler. I had my four-wheeler in the back of the truck. There was no way of dragging that thing out of there. So we go back, get the four-wheeler. I told my buddy, I said, and then he's like, then he started agreeing. He's like, dude, I'll stay here with the deer. We're not leaving this deer in the woods by itself as big as he is. I'll stay here with the deer. You go get the quad. And I'm like, well, won't you let me stay with my deer and you go get the quad? Well, no, you go do it. And finally I'm like, okay, dude, you just don't want to walk back to the truck. I said, I'll go get the quad and I'll come back. Just watch my deer. Don't let that happen to it.
Right.
So I go and get the quad and I come back. And we get ready. I still dress him, a tag's ready to roll. We go to lift him up, and I'm like, we can't lift him up. We can't get him on the quad because he's so big. And I'm like, dude, there's nobody else out here, dude. I don't know who to call. I said, we got to get this done. Tried to lift him again. We couldn't make it. I'm like, dude, look, on the count of 3, we're going to manhandle this beast, and we're going to get him on the back of this quad and get out of here.
Jeez, he's that
we
big,
counted
huh?
to 3.
Wow.
Dude, he is just a heavy deer. Heavy deer. So we finally get this thing loaded, put on the truck, or on the four-wheeler, and then head to the truck. The gentleman that lives out front, he lets me park in a parking spot on his property, where I don't block the road that leads back along the field for the case the farmer's got to get down there to get into the field or what have you.
Yeah. I
go and get him, but he's not home. But his mom and dad is.
Mm.
They come out and they got their camera ready, you know, they're taking pictures, and they thought that deer was a big 13, 14 pointer. Because they have seen that deer on several occasions run through the cornfield and back to my back property. And then, of course, after talking to the one gentleman that butts on the property behind me, you know, my property is basically a safe zone for them deer.
Right.
Got all those thickets we was talking about earlier.
Yep.
A lot of the big deer that they have that run from onto their farm come from my property and the neighbor's property, which the neighbor does not allow anybody to hunt. So it's a safe zone where I'm at.
That's a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Dang. And this is all stemming from a conversation at the water cooler at work.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is. So I tell a lot of my buddies, man, it don't matter where you're at or who, you know, just start talking about deer hunt to somebody. And somebody might just out of the blue say, well, you know, my grandpa's got 200 acres in Adams County, and, you know, he might let you hunt. Oh, you kidding me? You really? That's all it takes.
Right.
You know, and of course, you know, once you get that property, you know, I try not to hunt one property. I try not to overhunt it.
Yeah.
You know, because then you start pushing the deer out. They start waiting until nighttime. And so a lot of my buddies say, why do you have so much property? That's why. Because I can move around a little bit. I don't feel so stuck in one spot, and, you know, it's the way I do it, man.
Keeps the pressure down.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's a huge key to that success, too, is that you don't want to pressure them too much because you won't get your opportunities. Huge hunting lesson right there. Definitely.
You know,
I want to get into something that brought you as the hunter to my attention. One night I'm on Facebook wrapping up some stuff, and I get a message, and it's a picture. So I'm like, I wonder what this guy's sending me. So I pull it up, and I said, no way. I'm sure Jay did the same thing. I said, no freaking way. I said, look at this guy. Literally, this is how I come to know your buck. Does your buck have a name by chance?
I'm calling him the Christmas buck.
That's a good name.
I think you need to be calling him the living room buck.
I hear the living room buck too. Living room or Christmas buck. I'll go with either one.
Right on. Both. But anyway, this message came in, and it was a picture, and it was you holding this buck in your living room.
What's the story behind that?
How do we get to that? Yeah, let's hear that.
All right. Well, when I get home, I've already called the wife probably a dozen times and told her, hey, you know, I shot this big monster. I finally got him. He's on the quad in the truck. We're coming home. It might be really that big. I said, Andrew, I'm not exaggerating. I promise you, I'm coming home with this deer right now. So we get home, and it starts to rain. It's starting to kind of flurry a little bit. I'm like, I don't know how, you know, when you kick your deer home, even though I got good pictures in the woods with him, when I get my deer home, I still like to pull him off the truck, pull him off to the side, put him on the wood line, and try to get some more good pictures, especially a deer of that nature.
Right.
But it's starting to rain and flurry. We put truck lights on him. I pulled the quad over there, put the lights on him, and I've got pictures to prove a comparison of what the pictures look like. It shows no justice whatsoever. And I'm getting upset. She knows I'm getting upset because I can't get the pictures of this deer. So I got about 6 buddies out there with me and their girlfriends. My wife's like, just take him in the house. I said, what? I said, you're serious? She says, Mike, she said, look at how much you've been through. Look at what you've done. Look at how much time you invested, not only in yourself, but your boy. You finally landed the big one. We're getting pictures of this beast. Bring him in the house right now. I said,
that's
I
great.
Look at my buddies, and they're all looking at me, and they're like, dude, she's serious. I said, she is dead serious, and that's not a bad idea. So grab the leg, boys. You heard the boss lady. We're taking him in the house and keeping him more. You know?
That may be our all-time best phrase we've ever heard. Get a leg, we're taking him into the house.
Yeah. That's it, man.
That's number one, Jay.
I know, hands down.
Absolutely.
Everybody grab a leg.
You just made history right here.
We're bringing them in the house to the living room for more photos.
Oh yeah,
that's the best.
So you drag this mega giant into the house.
Yep.
And you start taking pictures. So what? I've looked at your pictures on Facebook, man, and there's a ton of people in the background that actually helped you and are checking this thing out right in your living room.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It don't get no better than that.
No better than that, man. No. So, Mike, if you had to age this buck, how old was it?
if I had to age the buck, I want to say he was 5 to 6 years old.
Beautiful.
He might have even been a 7, you know. I'm going to say 5 to 7 years old.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because some of the trail cam pics these guys have sent me, and I'm very thankful that these guys have sent me these trail cam pics. It gives more of a story to not just my story, but to the deer. And that not only did somebody that, you know, first time or somebody went out and poached this deer, you know, at least somebody went out that has put time and effort into hunting that actually deserves to harvest a deer in that nature actually got it. That's what a lot of those guys that have sent me the trail cam pics, that's the first thing they tell me.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not one bit mad. I'm just so happy that you got it and not somebody else that does not deserve to have that animal because of how big he is.
Right.
You know,
and
put your time,
that's kind of
put your effort into it.
Yeah, that's kind of important, and it's not just they know you, they know you're a quality guy, a good hunter, and that
exactly.
Good hunter deserves that kind of thing. But it also gives them some closure for this big buck that they've been hunting. They know who got it and that it's down, and
exactly
where they can go to look at it from then on.
Yep.
And that means a lot to a hunter, is that we grow relationships with these bucks that we hunt, and sometimes they just disappear, and you don't know if they moved on or if they just got shot by somebody,
right.
And it just makes
and
you
that's
feel
why,
good.
After him seeing that, I guess last year or the year before, they was watching another big 10-pointer that had been coming and going onto their farm,
right?
And they ended up finding him in the creek, out of season, arrow in him, or a hole, whatever, from an arrow,
right?
And they never got to harvest a deer, and the deer, someone shot him, it went and died, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
But to them, it means a lot. You know what I'm saying? It
means a lot.
Like you guys said, you grow to the deer. You watch him. You're, putting all that time into it, and then finding out something like that happens. It's very upsetting.
It is upsetting. And the antithesis to that is that when a deer gets taken and you know it and you know who got it and that it's somebody that you respect as a hunter,
that's it.
You feel as good for that person as if, well, maybe not quite as good as if you got it yourself, but close. And just a lot of respect for the animal, I guess, is what it comes down to.
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Great story, Mike. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm thankful, man. I really am, and I can't wait for more people to actually hear, the conversation that we're having, so that way they know that, hey, yes, the deer was really in the living room.
Yes,
I am married. I'm not single. And of how much time I put into it. I've lost. I'm telling you, in the past 5 years, I've had some very bad years of hunting, and I guess the whole moral of my story is never give up, because you never know what could happen to you the following year.
Right.
That's a great tip.
It's
you
not
have hard times and you have good times.
You stick with it. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a journey.
That's why they call it hunting.
That's right. It's filled with failures, but it's the successes that you keep you coming back and that you just thrive for. That's it. That is it.
Yeah. And that's what, like I said earlier, that's what kept me going after, last year I hunted quite a bit. I spent 90% of my time though in the woods with my son. Last year was not about me. With all the things that had happened, within the past 5 years, and then that last buck I shot, the stands got stolen, and not only did they steal the stands, but they stole my deer. I told my wife, I said, this year, it's about him, it's not about me, and
it paid
what
off.
happened when I came out last year, it paid off. Yep.
Great story, man, and we really appreciate you joining us to tell the story.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for joining us on the Big Buck
I appreciate
Podcast.
You guys having me on here.
If there was ever a story that deserved to be on the Big Buck Podcast, that's the one. That's fantastic.
Thank you, and I appreciate it, and it means a lot to me.
So good. This is just an honor to have you on the show, and good luck to you next season. I'm sure there's more to come for Mike Behrmann. It's just awesome stuff. Man, what a absolutely riveting story. Thanks to Mike Behrmann for telling us that entire epic tale.
Yeah, it's crazy how you can get in the dumps about hunting. Then, one thing changed his whole mindset with hunting with his son and brought him back to where he wanted to hunt hard again. And it all, in the end, paid off. What amazing story. And I can only imagine your wife saying, hey, grab a leg. Let's bring that buck inside so we can take some better pictures. Could you imagine that, Jay?
My wife wouldn't say that, but your wife would. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I think, fortunately I got a nice garage and we can get some pictures there. But if I didn't have an area to take pictures in, I'm pretty sure that my wife would say, bring it on in the house.
Oh yeah, man. That's, what a great story. Just made me feel good just listening to it, and how he's a hard hunting guy, and he hunts hard like you do. And he's, it all kind of finally came together for him, but that he felt as passionate about the deer that his son shot as he did his own deer. So, I mean, he's just a quality hunter, quality individual. You can tell that from just getting a chit chat with him a little bit.
Oh yeah, and just the story that's behind that particular buck, it just all come together in the end.
Yeah,
and for somebody to appreciate as much as Mike does, that right there is that's priceless in my eyes.
Yep, exactly. And you know what else is priceless is the people that turn us on to these stories. Sometimes it's Facebook and a picture and stuff like that, but we've got some people lined up in the future, and I'd like to give a shout out to Doug Kostrava, right, for hooking us up with some future episodes of the Big Buck Podcast. Yeah,
Doug's got the HBC Seed Company, Horny Buck Seed Company, and man, what some great seeds, and it's he guarantees them the freshest seeds on the market. Check him out, Horny Buck Seed Company, there on Facebook, and get hooked up with Doug for your next year's seed.
Definitely. And we're going to check in with Jenna Waller here down the road. She's going to give us a little recap of the SHOT Show, see what happened out there in Vegas. And quite frankly, we should have been there this year. We just didn't plan right. So, dude, we're there next year. We have to go.
Absolutely. It's something that, like you said, we should be there right now. This year, we should have went there this year for sure. But, that's part of it. We can't, you can't have everything, right?
Can't have everything. We weren't planning that initially. We were going to do just 2 different trips, but in hindsight, we probably should have done that one too. So SHOT Show is definitely on our target list for next year. Yep. Well, thanks to Mike Behrmann for going through that entire epic tale of the living room buck. Just fantastic. So
yeah, great story.
Great story.
Yeah, great story.
Yeah. So if you know of any great stories out there that you think deserve to be on the Big Buck Podcast, we'd love to hear from you. And you can just send us an email. Send me an email, or Dusty, j@bigbuckregistry.com or dusty@bigbuckregistry.com. Just put in the title, hey, suggestion for a story for show, or anything like that. Just give us some details about this story that you've heard about. We'd love to cover it. We're up for those types of leads on great stories.
Yeah, absolutely. We always encourage our listeners to, if you are a listener and you shot a great buck, send your story in.
Yeah.
And if you know somebody that has a great story behind a particular buck, and we've ran into, well, it's not a great buck. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No.
All bucks have a great story, and all bucks are a trophy in our eyes.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a monster. It could be a 1-year-old spike horn that your son shot. That's fine too. And we're looking for those stories that really have a human interest kind of connection. Those are the ones we're looking for. So if you have one, let us know.
Yeah, and we're always interested in finding out new ways to hunt different areas. We haven't covered all states, and we're not going to cover all states unless a story is submitted to us.
Yeah, unless we get some help from you, the listeners.
Right, the listener.
Show.
Yeah,
we need to know.
And we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Man, it's been a heck of a ride every Saturday, 5 a.m. The new show comes out. And it's just, we're going to keep producing the best quality show we can for you, the listeners.
Yes, that's our goal. That's our goal, is to tell great stories to great people that tune into the Big Buck Podcast. And just been an awesome show, man. Just thanks, Sarah. Thanks for joining me again, Dusty. It's just a pleasure having you on the show every single week, and I can't wait to do it again next week.
I can't either. It just gets better week after week after week. It's one of the things where it just is unbelievable how much we improve as far as our being able to work together and ask questions together. But the stories.
It's the stories we live for. I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, what's this person going to tell us this week? Oh man.
It's great.
It's awesome.
Even if I wasn't the co-host of the show, I would be so involved with wanting to hear the next story that the Big Buck Registry is going to cover.
And I truly appreciate the people that listen to this show, because I know they're diehard, hardcore hunters like me and you. And I love listening to the stories. And if I were the only one listening to these stories, I'd still be happy, because they're great stories. But I do know that people listen to this show, and the reason I know that is because I do follow some of the rankings. And as it turns out, we were rated number one in iTunes in the outdoor video podcasts, because we do some videos too. just this yesterday, as a matter of fact, ranked number 1 in the outdoor podcast category, number 2 in the more general sports and recreation category, which is 15 categories deep. And then we were ranked number 99 of all podcasts. And I'm not talking just a category. I'm talking every single podcast that is made today. We were ranked number 99 in the whole world.
And that's a thank you to everybody that gives us a download and tunes in with us.
Yes.
I mean, we really, from our heart to yours, we appreciate and we really honestly do this show for the listeners. Not only is it for us, but it's to spread the word about whitetail hunting.
Yes. Whitetail hunting, getting the youth involved and telling a great story and not forgetting the story, because the story is every bit as part of the whole process. It's not, the experience is a huge part of it, but the story is, and capturing that story is exactly as important, if not more important.
Yeah, and it's very cool that we were able to share information to the listeners about hunting mature bucks.
Yes.
Everybody says, "Oh, I just want to kill a buck." Yeah, that's great, and we're willing to help out there. If you got a question, feel free to ask us anything. We'll answer a question. And once you get on that first buck, though, you're going to progress to a bigger buck. And then after that bigger buck, you're going to progress to another bigger buck.
Right.
And it's all a revolving circle. And it's not about how big the buck is. It's about the experience, the memories, and the tradition that you carry on with every deer that you harvest.
Exactly. And
get the youth outdoors.
This is a tradition I never want to let die. And that's absolutely 100% the root of why we do this show. So keep spreading the word. We want the tradition and the aspects of hunting to continue forever, from being out in the field to recharging your batteries to the family aspect of what hunting is. That's what we're all about.
Absolutely. If you have a comment or question, you can even leave us a review on iTunes. BigBuckRegistry.com/iTunes. Leave us a review there on your Apple device and let us know if you like us or you dislike something that we've done. Please let us know. We're willing to take your advice, and if we need to make changes, we'll do it to make it more pleasurable for our listeners. If we don't hear from you, we're going to assume that we're doing everything awesome and we're doing what you want to hear.
Yep.
But if you have a concern about something, an issue, don't hold back. Express it, even if it's bad. We want to know.
Yeah, whether it's a show thing or a technical thing. Like, for example, somebody said that we were too bassy. Well, we've turned down the bass, the low end of our spectrum of our voices. That improved. Then there was something about I could hear one person, but I couldn't hear the other, and I had to play with my volume up and down throughout the show. We've normalized that with one function. Fix that. If there's anything out there that you want fixed that isn't quite sounding right, we need to know. If we don't hear from you, we won't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that boiled down to a listener was in their car, and they was having some bass issues through the microphone of their car. They was plugged in through their iPod or their jack in their car, and they was listening to the radio, and there was a little bit too much bass for them to adjust out. Well, we'll make adjustments for you.
Right.
They try to help you make it the better experience all the way around.
Right. We make some assumptions, and if we don't hear from you, we assume everything's going fine. So just send in the comments. We just need to know, get the feedback about the show. Dusty, how can we reach you offline and online?
You can email me at dusty@bigbuckregistry.com. You can also check me out at Chubby Tines Outdoors on Facebook. You can reach me at Antler Life on Facebook. And you also check me out at Dusty Hunting Neck right there on Facebook. Everything I do is based around email and Facebook, and I'll be glad to talk with you. Check me out anytime. It doesn't matter day or night. Shoot me a message there on Chubby Tines Outdoors, and we'll chat. And if you got any questions about hunting, I'm glad to help you out. Jay, how can the people get in touch with you?
Yes, sir. All right. So as we mentioned, it's BigBuckRegistry.com/iTunes. That's our iTunes account. BigBuckRegistry.com/Stitcher. That's a different podcast directory that you can tune into. You can give us a call at 724-613-2825. That's our feedback line. You can leave us a tip, an improvement on the show, give us feedback on the show, leave us a story headline that you want us to cover. all that is great. You can even text that number. You can send a picture as well. Speaking of pictures, if you'd like to have your picture featured on our Facebook page and want to be famous for a day, because we have over 150,000 followers now on Facebook, we'd be happy to do that for you. We do have some criteria, and if you'd like to check out that criteria, please go to www.bigbuckregistry.com/mybuck. And if you'd like to do a share for share because you're an outdoor anybody and you'd like to get a little more coverage for your Facebook page and you'd like to promote our page and in turn we'll promote you, just go to www.bigbuckregistry.com/S4S. I think that's it, man. I think that's all I got.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with us. We really enjoyed having you, and we're going to push forward to the next show and do the best that we can to take your hunt to the next level. I'm Dusty Phillips.
And I'm Jay Scott.
And you're listening to the Big Buck Registry Deer Hunting Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Can't wait.